And what I would cover today with you a little bit is tell you a little bit about me personally, who I am, where I'm from, my background. And Harris told me that this session is kind of the secret of success. What is it? So I talk a little bit about leadership, and I'll give you a sense of what my secret to success is as a leader in South Jersey. And then finally, I'll tell you a little bit about Virtua and give you a little my sense for where this healthcare thing is going. All right, and I'm going to do that all by 1:30 so we can get out of here. All right, so I'm going to try to do that and frame it right, okay? So it's great to see some friends in the room. Great to see Sharon and Michael. We go back a long way in South Jersey. We've worked together, and it's great to see, and John as well. John and I were talking earlier for our healthcare days. We go back a ways. So it's great to see some people in the room. A little about me, Jackie. I'm a Philly kid, okay? Grew up in South Philly. I have a very interesting background, right? I'm a son of a Jewish father and an Italian mother. Guilt and heartburn are part of my background, okay? So I have a lot of history of guilt and heartburn, so I know what it's like to have that. So I'm very unique in that regard, where I could be celebrating Passover with my grandparents during the week and Easter on a Sunday. I mean, that's the kind of background I had. I had a very unique background. I could be playing on Eastwood Street in Northeast Philadelphia, my grandparents' home, right by Max Meyer's Playground, if anybody knows where that is, right? And I could be in South Philadelphia stirring the gravy and meatballs at my other grandmother's house on a Sunday. So I bring an ethnic, unique perspective to the table. And frankly, for me growing up, times weren't easy a lot of times, coming from that background, growing up in South Jersey, where the community wasn't real accepting of that type of background. But everybody has to fight through those issues and grow through those issues, and I was able to do that. I had a great, my parents both work, I don't know if anybody remembers Baker Clothes in South Philadelphia at 26 and Reed Street. It was a factory, tailoring factory. In fact, my father's father, my grandfather was a tailor in Northeast Philadelphia. So I spent a lot of times down his basement when he would be fitting clothes for me and my brother. So my parents met there on an elevator, going up an elevator. It's an amazing story, you know. Things have been going up ever since, you know, in my life. So that's where they met. And I grew up in South Philly for about 10 years, through 10 years of my life, growing up in the city, and eventually moved to South Jersey. Now, my mother, whose parents and family lived in South Philadelphia, my father said, "We're moving to Voorhees, New Jersey, Mary." My father's name was Joseph and Mary, that's my parents. So, no more be said. And my father says, "We're moving to South Jersey." Now, my mother still doesn't drive to this day. My father's passed, but my mother still doesn't drive, and they moved out to the wilderness in Voorhees, New Jersey. Right, Sharon? 1961, Voorhees, New Jersey, where you could lay in the middle of Route 73, if anybody knows where that is, and not be run over for five hours. That's how open that space was, all orchard and farms in South Jersey at that time. And it was 5 miles to a grocery store where my mother was used to walking down the street for groceries. So a whole change in lifestyle for me, even as a kid growing up. I really had a rich background in terms of growing up from both sides of my family. And I always talk about that because I think I bring a different perspective to life in a way that's special. And I've learned so much from both of my families, so much about, the culture is incredible. I mean, the culture I possess from both and my dad was not a college graduate, but what a well-read person he was. And he made sure both of his boys went and his daughter went to college. That was very important to him. He taught me a lot about Jewish history. And my grandparents were Polish Jews that came over in the early 1900s. So rich background, and I learned a lot, and I'm still learning my ancestry and background. It's a fascinating history. So right now, I'll give you a little history of personally about why I'm in this field, because it's important, I think, people understand why I'm passionate about what I do. I'm married 38 years, be 39 this year. Big year next year, Sharon, 40 years. I have to come up. 45 for you, right? So I have to come up. My kid's already telling me, "Dad, 40 years, you got to come up pretty big with Mom here, you know." So I've been married. They'll be 39 years this year. I have two daughters and 2 granddaughters right now. So my older daughter's married. My younger daughter's getting married in May, all right? So she's getting married. The key here, and I told my future son-in-law, being in healthcare, Sharon, you gotta understand this, I have all women in my life. Daughters, granddaughters. The dog's female and barks at me, all right? So I pulled my future son-in-law aside and said, Bob, we're gonna do a blood test. If you can't produce boys in my family, you're out. Simple as that. So we have a standing joke in my family about that. So blessed to have a great family and great partnership with my wife and my kids and my grandchildren. Little history going back about me and what's changed my life and what's focused me in this direction. When I was a college senior, I was at Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland, and I was a college senior. And my parents didn't have a lot. They were able to send me to school, but I had to help pay my way through for my education at that point. So I would work weekends, and I'd work as a waiter. And the location of Mount St. Mary's, for those that don't know, is outside Gettysburg, Maryland. It's right out across the border into Maryland, right outside of Gettysburg. So I used to work at the Sheraton Hotel on weekends as a waiter. And I have to tell you, for people that wait tables, God bless, it is a tough job to do. Very tough job. So I waited on the weekends, and I used to open the restaurant Friday morning. I used to take class off on Friday, open for breakfast, close for dinner. So my day ranged from 5 in the morning till midnight on a day. That was a pretty long day. So one night I'm coming home from my work on a Friday night. It's spring, and I'm driving a '62 Volkswagen Bug. So anybody knows those cars, the exhaust in the car was heavier than the heat, I mean, coming from the engine. But I'm driving along, it was cool that night, I turned the heat on a little bit, and I fell asleep at the wheel, going about 40 miles an hour. I hit a bridge abutment going 40 miles an hour, opened my eyes, and the only 3 words I got out of my mouth was, oh my God, when I hit that bridge abutment going 40. I actually flew out of the car, my leg got caught under the seat, broke the leg, felt it break, and the car landed on top of me. Okay, Volkswagen. So I'm laying there, and my left lung was collapsed. I was breathing out of my right side. I was under that car for 3 hours. Okay, in a lonely Pennsylvania, PA 116, heading back to my house where my other 4 mates lived. And I was under that car, and you meet your maker in a hurry. All right, all I smelled was gasoline, and I was in and out of consciousness. So eventually what happened was a trucker found me on the side of the road, called the police, and I was airlifted to the University of Maryland Shock Trauma Unit in Baltimore, okay? So my start in healthcare began that night with that incident. Now, to tell you what happened to me along the way was I was in the shock trauma unit. I was on a ventilator, complete lung failure, complete renal failure. My kidneys had completely failed. So I was on dialysis and I was on a ventilator. I went through the healthcare experience and saw healthcare firsthand at that university. And frankly, I saw the good and bad sides of it. Now, back in 1974, I was a college senior, all right, 21 years old, all right, and I'm laying in that bed. And in 1974, when you were in a shock trauma unit or in an ICU, everything was dark. Green walls, no lights, no windows, no light to speak of. Very dark, and everybody's in green. So I'm thinking, what's going on here? And what's happened to me? Where am I? Right? The first thought in mind. Because people don't realize in healthcare, the mental side and spiritual side of health is just as important as your physical well-being. Okay? If anybody comes to my Sharon been in Voorhees Hospital, what's spectacular about it? The light. The light. Windows. I have windows in the OR. The reason for that, right? I have windows, light coming in everywhere into that hospital. Gardens, things of that nature. So the key back then was you didn't know where I was, and it was quite an experience. There was one night I couldn't sleep at night, so it was funny, being on dialysis, I couldn't have anything to drink. And when you don't have anything to drink, the biggest thing you're looking for is just a glass of water. It's amazing how life shrinks itself in front of you, because the important things in life become the basic things in life at that point. So I asked my nurse, Joanne, I'll never forget Joanne, nurse that took care of me, to wheel me out by the nurse's station. She wheels me out because I knew where the refrigerator was, Sharon, in the nurse's station. So I'm figuring, and they weren't allowed, I wasn't allowed to drink unless I was on dialysis. So I'm reaching back to get something to drink, and she catches me. She goes, "Rich, get your hand out of that refrigerator." So as time went on, I didn't give me much chance for survival. And what was interesting was medical students at the University of Maryland used to come in with fellows and doctors, residents, and they would stand at the end of my bed, and they'd talk about me. Right? The physicians would talk, but never speak to me. And I had a trach, I had tubes. I mean, I couldn't speak, but I was there. I heard everything they said. I heard every word they said, and it was like you're not treated as a human being at that point. It's very interesting how medical science has progressed. So in my hospital in Voorhees, beneath the bed, there's a stool beneath every bed in Voorhees. And we tell our physicians, when you come into a room, you sit down to eye level with the patient, okay? You speak to the patient about patient care, eye level to eye level, not standing over the bed, not with your hand on the rail. You speak to the patient. That's the difference in terms of providing a basic level of care. My primary care physicians, I have about 105 primary care docs that I employ in New Jersey. I've given them all scribes. And why did I do that? Because I don't want them sitting there with the electronic medical record in their hand and taking notes while the patient's talking. I want them looking at the patient and talking to the patient. So I put a scribe in the corner of the room who scribes the medical record while the patient and the physician are talking. Much different approach to medical care, but an important approach to personalizing the care. Back in 1974, that was not present, okay? So as my care went on, I did become addicted to Percocet. I became addicted to painkillers. And frankly, the worst pain I ever had was coming off a painkiller. It's the worst experience when you come off of a painkiller. So I had to go cold turkey off of the Percocet, which was fascinating back then. I have to tell you, I've never experienced anything like that. But one night, and the positive side of care I want to give you that I learned was nursing. I love nurses. Absolutely love nurses. Right, there we go. They're the bedside caregivers. Our physicians are phenomenal, don't get me wrong, they're great. But the nurses provide the day-to-day care. And I had a nurse, Joanne. And what was happening was when you're in the hospital for a month, all right, you start slipping mentally. And now my kids told me I slipped a long time ago. But you start slipping into depression and mental depression as a patient. I learned that too, if you're experiencing a long stay. So Joanne understood this. And she understood also that I needed some touch with the outside world. I wasn't allowed visitors at that point. So seeing my parents and seeing my family wasn't an occurrence that happened as it does today in medicine, okay? So the mental depression starts to set in. And the key there is that she took on to herself because and when I was in the hospital, there was something very special going on at that time. And Jackie, I'm a huge hockey Flyers fan. Flyers are making a run for their Stanley Cup, all right? Joanne got a copy of the Philadelphia Inquirer, sat next to the bed, and read me the accounts of every game. So it kept me connected to the world outside that was happening, which was very important, okay? So I come from a unique perspective as a CEO in healthcare, and I tell my physicians and nurses, I'm not a clinician, but boy, do I know the patient experience better than anybody, because I've been through it. And I know from the patient's point of view what we need to do in healthcare to change the paradigm of what we're doing. So what I want to do is, that's a lot about me, I know. But what I want to do is talk a little bit about how I've translated that experience when I was age 21 into my leadership role today. Because I've really taken a unique experience. And in leadership, and Sharon, everything's on this little card. Is that amazing? You know how I did that? I don't either. But leadership, first of all, is about people. Leadership's about people. Culture eats strategy every day of the week in my organization. Okay, so my relationship with every 9,000, I have 9,000 employees at Virtua. My relationship with those 9,000 people is crucial. That I can have a relationship to build a great patient experience for every patient that comes into my organization. People, people, people. I tell our management team that's the secret to success. If you can build a great organization around great people, and I mean through recruitment, hiring the best. You know, looking at, right, there we go. We've got a recruiter right here. Hiring the best people, value-driven people, people that will drive quality in the organization, but treat people appropriately is important. So people's number one. Having balance as a leader is important. And what I mean by balance is, I always tell my management team, nothing's so bad and nothing's so good. Highs and lows aren't good. You know, as a leader, being this way all the time is not good. So when I walk in to my organization, I want people to see a balance. That if I could have had the worst day in the world, and there are days I go home and I think, what just happened today, right? We all have those days. The balance in your organization is, I walk down the hallway, I'm still saying hello to people, so they're not panicked about something happened in the organization. I learned this when I was a first-year CEO. First year, I'm in my Camden cafeteria, hospital cafeteria, I'm walking down this hallway. I must have had my head down. I was thinking of something, walking in the employee comes over, she goes, Rich, is everything okay? I go, yeah, everything's fine, I'm just thinking. But it taught me a lesson as a leader. You're always on stage. Everybody's watching you. And my HR person, Ed Dunn, back then told me that. He said, Rich, you have to be on stage. And today's, with the iPhones, my Lord, you're always on stage, right? So very important, no highs and lows, stay consistent, and that's my philosophy on leadership. You never take a day off. Leadership, you don't have any days off. I like that commercial that I think it's I forget what commercial, the mom walks in the room and the child's sitting in the crib, and the mom goes, I need a personal day, I'm sick. Did you see that commercial? Right? That's a great commercial, you know? And the point is, there are no days off in leadership. It's consistent, day in, day out. Very important. As a leader, you know, I still have to have an edge to me a little bit, okay? Because edge is important. Because if the organization sees you don't have a fire in your belly, that's a problem. So fire in the belly and an edge is important. An edge, a proper edge, you know, that you're serious about things, that you're driving the organization forward. You set the strategy and you go, okay? The last thing I want to hear from one of my leadership team say out in the troops area is, Rich wanted to do that. That's his decision. We're all together in decision making. So the point I make to my team is, we're all in this together, gang. Don't let me find out we're not. That's the edge I'm talking about. Because if people see a crack in the leadership team in any way, that's problematic. But along with the edge, have the humility to say, I don't know. I meet with 30 employees. I call my employee advisory group. These are frontline employees that I meet with monthly. All right? They think I know everything. Honest to God, they do. They think, Rich, you don't know that? I said, guys, there's a lot I don't know. So what I typically do with them is they tell me something, and I say, well, go fix it, and tell me how you fixed it. Because I don't know how to fix it. You work on the ground floor, you can fix it. So we have that kind of dialogue at Virtua where my employees know they have the okay to fix. And they're not going to feel that I'm looking over their shoulder. So the humility part is very good. Take risk. Risk is important as a leader. Okay, let me give you an idea of what risk is about. And Sharon and Michael probably know this, probably don't know the story, but know a little bit. We were building Voorhees Hospital. I had a great idea to build a brand new replacement hospital. Beautiful hospital, by the way. It is a magnificent hospital. So I started this planning of that in the mid-2000s, right? So I was the brilliant leader, Jackie, that in 2007, I said, we're moving, let's go. We're going to build this hospital, okay? So I started to put steel in the ground, build this hospital. I had $100 million in the hospital. What happened in 2008? The stock market crashes, right? Brilliant move by your CEO. I'm $100 million in the ground. I have no bond market, none. I couldn't sell a bond if we tried in the market, right? So the only stock that was selling in 2008 was Grey Goose, because I was drinking it. It's the only stock that was selling. So we get to the end of 2008. I'm still not out to market. So now I have a decision, gang. Do I continue this project? Do I finish this? This was a $700 million project. $700 million project to build this hospital, 1 million square feet. Do I finish the project? So I'm sitting in my room with my senior leadership team, all right? It gets real lonely in there. I go, what do you think, gang? And they're all looking at me. I said, what do you think? And they're, you know, well, Rich, what, you know, everybody's kind of vacillating around. So I'm looking around, I said, we're building it. Let's go. Let's build this hospital. We'll figure a way to finance it. Right. I had no idea what we were going to do it. So we went out the room. Yeah, we went out. It's Eastwood Street. Yeah, Eastwood Street. Right, there you go. So we're out the door, and everybody's behind this project. So what the great ending to the story was in in May of 2009, I'm in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. My CFO's in New York. We think we got a window to sell these bonds, right? So I said, Bob, you call me and let me know what's going on Wall Street. I got to know. So I get the phone rings, right? So I'm looking at, should I answer this call? You know, because you're scared that if we didn't go then, we were done. Calls me and he says, you're not going to believe it. He says, the investors really are buying this like candy. And they're looking for a safe investment, and Virtua is a safe investment. He said, in fact, the retailers are buying it so much, the institutional guys don't think they're going to get in. So what happened was our cost of capital through this project went way down because it was oversold. The project was oversold. So it's a great story to tell, but there was a lot of sweat in there between 2008 and 2009. So the gut and the ability to take the risk, sometimes you have to make the call. And sometimes it's not the right call, but you have to make the call. You have to have the guts to make the call. And finally, on the leadership side, boy, you better have fun at what you do, right? You got to enjoy what you do. I get up every day. Well, what happened to me at age 21 gets my feet on the floor real quick, gang. Let me tell you. So I get my feet on the floor. I'm ready to roll. I'm a 5 a.m.er. I'm ready to go. And I look forward to that day where I can make a difference in my organization. So I'm having fun. You know, I'll be 64 this year. I'm still having a ball and having a blast at what I'm doing. So I really enjoy working with my people and growing the organization. And it's really a blessing to be part of that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'll tell you a little bit about, Joe knows that, right, Joe? I tell the same story, right? It hasn't changed, has it?
No, the fascinating thing about Virtua Voorhees was that it really was the only thing being built.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point, Joe. In 2000, there was no market, right? Revel was going up at the same time, and they shut it, yeah, look what happened. They shut Revel down at that point, not to build, in fact. They were holding Revel. So our tradesmen in New Jersey had no work, zero work. So we were the only major project that put people to work. We put thousands of tradespeople to work on our site, and they're proud of that. They always tell me we were so proud to build that hospital. It was great at a time when there was no work. So let me talk a little bit about Virtua, and I'll talk hopefully a little bit about healthcare and what I think we're going to do. Virtua, for those that don't know, we're in South Jersey, and you don't fall off the edge of the world when you cross the river, okay? Let me point that out. There is a river, and you get to the other side. And it's not the Jersey Shore, so you go to the other side. We're 9,000 employees. We have 3 hospitals. We have 5 major outpatient centers, one in the city of Camden. We have a great home health business. We have 2 long-term care facilities. We provide the mobile intensive care units for Camden and Burlington counties. So significant volume. We also have 14 same-day surgery centers in New Jersey. A lot of people don't know that. We're as far north as Ramapo in the New York marketplace, and as far south as Summers Point in southern New Jersey. So we really operate about 14 same-day surgeries, becoming a major business it's a $150 million business for Virtua right now in same-day surgery. Our company's $1.3 billion today. When we did the merger back in '97 with Memorial Hospital in West Jersey to become Virtua, we were about 400 million. So there's been a lot of growth for us in the past 20 years. I've been the CEO for 20 years, which has been great since '95. I've been the CEO, and I've really enjoyed it. I've been with the organization over 30 years. So my background's finance. I'm a business and finance guy. I started as a chief financial officer at West Jersey and graciously grew through the ranks to become the CEO. So it's been great for me. Our major service line is babies, right, Sharon? We deliver 8,000 babies in South Jersey, 8,000 babies. Our partner in pediatrics is CHOP. CHOP is our pediatric partner. Their physicians are we have 2 pediatric emergency rooms with CHOP supports. Our neonatal intensive care unit's a top level 3 unit, CHOP supports, and our pediatric intensive care unit. And it's a great partnership with CHOP. And Steve Altschuler and I know each other very well. Steve's now retired. Madeline's taken over at CHOP. But Steve and I built this relationship, and it was built personally because of how we hit it off together. And we just sat down in a little Italian restaurant in South Philly one day and said, what do we want to do together? And we put the deal together right on a napkin, basically, about how this is. And the partnership is very strong because the kids that can stay in South Jersey are treated in South Jersey. And we treat a lot more stuff in South Jersey than we used to. And then if we have to helicopter a kid over, we take CHOP's helicopter and we send them over to the city for care. And it's a phenomenal relationship. Recently, we just formed a partnership with the University of Pennsylvania, Penn Medicine, and that partnership's in cancer care and neurosciences. So, you know, our goal is to take advantage of Penn's research and clinical trial ability and genetic ability for people in South Jersey. So their cancer network will be part of Virtua in South Jersey. And again, it's for the things that we don't want to do and can't do, because there's certain things in care that you have to do a lot of to be really good at it. And so we will send our extreme cases over to the city and care for a lot more people. In neurosciences, we're going to be doing intracranial work in our Mount Holly Hospital with our Penn neurosurgeons. They're already housed out there in Mount Holly. So I consider, you know, the partnerships to be very important. We also have a partnership with CVS in South Jersey. They're minute clinics. They have a number of minute clinics. We're a nurse practitioner model. We oversee their minute clinics in South Jersey. Our physician network reviews the medical records for the minute clinics, make sure the care is provided well. We also have 5 urgent cares. Urgent cares, you know, Michael and I were talking about the urgent care model before we sat down. We do urgent care. We're going to do a lot more urgent care. 51% of our population does not have a primary care physician. It's amazing. Millennials, forget it. My kids, forget it. All right, they're fast, easy, in, out kind of health care is what they're looking for. So urgent care model also helps us in the emergency rooms to decrease the volume for care there, because a lot of people come to the emergency rooms, you know, basically for care that they could get in an urgent care center or in another location. So we're doing a lot of different things. Now, finally, and I'll open it up for questions. I'm going to leave you some time for questions. How am I doing, Joe? Perfect? You would say that because you work for me. Thank you. Thank you, Harris. I appreciate that. So, healthcare and the future of healthcare, and again, this is Rich Miller's version. So, you know, don't think this is the president speaking of the country. This is my take on it. Pardon me. In a minute. Let me just go. You can ask me anything you want in a minute. I might not be able to answer it, but you can ask me. So, in a minute, I want to go through this, and then what we're facing right now, in my opinion, is the marketplace is changing rapidly. And what I mean by that, we're going to see lower premium product in the marketplace. We're starting to see premium dollar come down. Like, it has to come down. Okay, so it's being forced down in the consumer marketplace. Okay, the consumer will be queen and king of the day in a very short period of time. And this is my opinion again. And why do I say that? Because a lot of employers in the marketplace will not cover their employees anymore for health insurance. Okay? What they will do potentially is voucher their employees to go out to the marketplace, okay, the exchanges, public and private, to buy product. Okay? So my customer changes dramatically. Now I'm talking directly to Joe Consumer in the marketplace about product. And the reason I think that's going to happen is business is tired of 30, 35, 40% premium increases every year, all right? So they're basically going to say, I'm going to fix my cost in the health insurance side. You buy your product, here's the voucher. And I think business will work a lot better that way. So the competition then on the premium side, when people go out and buy, is going to be extreme, all right? Hospitals are already taking rate cuts to compete in the marketplace. The Omnia Tier 1 product, Horizon's Omnia Tier 1 product in New Jersey, was the first shot across the bow at a tiered lower cost premium product in New Jersey, okay? So we're going to see more of those products rolling out in the next few years that are very price competitive to the consumer. Lower deductible, lower copay, very, very competitive. I'm going to have to compete for that product. And the reason I have to compete with the consumer is they're going to move on price. Consumers will move on price. You know, they're going to look at quality, they're going to look at customer service. First thing they look at is price. You know, is it price competitive? Can I compete? So bottom line is I know I have to do that. So the consumer in the marketplace is going to be very important. Now, more of my play in the marketplace in South Jersey is to think about wellness and prevention for the consumer, okay? That's where I'm at, all right? So we have a sick care model today that takes care of sick people when they get sick. We don't have a model that looks at chronic disease in a different way and caring for the patient, caring for the consumer before they hit my hospital, my emergency room, because then it's too late. So my goal right now is, by the way, I have 3 fitness centers in South Jersey that are in 3 counties and 2 spas. All right, so Jackie, come into the spa and relax a little bit, all right? It's good for you. Builds character. What's that? Sharon's right outside my Voorhees operation. So bottom line is that I'm going to be talking to, I have my most encounters at Virtua are at my fitness center. Think of my emergency room, my 3 fitness centers. So how do I talk to the consumer about wellness? The way to talk to them is when they're in the fitness center. And we're a very siloed business model right now where, you know, we have fitness and wellness, we have emergency rooms, we have urgent care. They're all in different silos. We got to start integrating these pieces. So I'm talking to you, Sharon, when you're coming into my fitness center. We're going to have a seminar today on cervical cancer. We're going to have a seminar today on breast cancer. And we're going to do it in the fitness center. We're going to talk to you about health and wellness and prevention. All right? Now why? There's a selfish reason I'm doing this too. Okay? Because I want to build loyalty to that consumer. When that consumer thinks about health care, they're going to think in the wellness space about Virtua and also think in the sick space about Virtua. So we will be talking about that. In addition to that, next year I'll be rolling out my own private label insurance product in southern New Jersey, okay? It'll be partnered with Aetna, and it'll have a Virtua Aetna name on it, okay? So it'll be a narrow network product, meaning not everybody will be in the product. But I have 1,350 physicians that will participate. They've already signed on. All the Virtua Systems products and services, pen and chop, okay, and a number of long-term care. It'll have a full continuum of service, and it'll be a lower premium product. So I'm going to sell it to the business community, and I'm going to sell it to the consumer at large in our community. So you'll start seeing that roll out, okay, this summer probably more so. In the spring and summer as it starts to roll out. And it'll have an Aetna Virtua name on it. And the goal here again is to compete on a price level, okay? Because rates for hospitals, hospital payments are going to go down. We've already seen them start to go down. So if any hospital system, you know, there are exceptions, and I'll say pen and chop are exceptions, all right? They don't take rate concessions. It's a beautiful thing when you don't have to take rate concessions. Love that. But given given who they are, they're going to work with us in our model to make sure that they're participating as a top tier product in our model. So price is changing, the consumer model's changing. If you ask me, is the Affordable Care Act here to stay? In a form it is, okay? It's not going to totally, the exchange model, I think, is the model that will be the model of the future where product is purchased in the future, definitely. Another thing we've seen positively from the Affordable Care Act in New Jersey was we've seen a real uptick in Medicaid enrollment in New Jersey, major Medicaid enrollment in New Jersey, to the point where it's really flattened out the no-pay patient model, where we're not seeing as much no-pay patient. We're seeing Medicaid, which is great for the health systems in the model. So there's some positives, there's some negatives that go along with the Affordable Care Act, and I think over time a lot of those things will be ironed out over time. The biggest issue is the Cadillac tax that's facing everybody in business, and that's got to be ironed out, because that's a sure negative in the model. Okay, so consumerism, that's where the model's going. Consumers king and queen of healthcare in the future. Consolidation of healthcare, you're seeing it around the country. You're going to see more consolidation because health systems feel they have to come together. Okay, the smaller systems, the 200-bed hospitals, will be a thing of the past in the next 5 to 10, in my opinion, next 5 to 10 years. Can't survive. Can't survive the economics of the future. Okay, very simple. Okay, yes. So, yeah, I'll be right with you. So I'm coming to both you guys. So that's where I think it's going, basically. There's a lot of turmoil in healthcare, but there's a lot of opportunity in healthcare to go forward.